What's up, guys? It is Sneaky here, and today we're doing part 2 of 2 for the Arma Reforger mission editor tutorial. This second part is just going to be implementing co-op. It'll be a fairly simple video. I do have a couple things we want to touch on here, important topics, as well as I'll do a little showcase of a workshop mod that I made, and it's to make your life easier. I'm going to show you how to add all these things, these managers, and this logic to create a multiplayer game mode, but you're not going to want to do this every time. Sit there and go, oh, what was the manager? So I made an add-on where you would load it, you would subscribe to it. When you create a new project, you would add it as a dependency. And when you load that world, it has all of these managers in it already. So you just have to create a subscene and you can get right into working on your project. So it'll make the process a lot more simple, and you don't have to sit there with a list and remember to drag all this stuff in every time. A couple of housekeeping things. Number one, obviously, you guys have been awesome with leaving comments down below the video and rating the video. It's helped a ton. My videos are doing really well, and the comments have been awesome. You guys have been extremely kind. There's been some good suggestions down there, good information in the comments. I always recommend you guys take a look there, especially if you're having a problem, because someone might have asked down in the comments and might have gotten an answer from me or someone else who stopped by. The other thing is, I'm going to be posting my videos around less, like advertising them, I guess, or promoting them. It's been feeling kind of weird, even though it's helping people. To me, it's like self promo. It just kind of feels gross. So if you guys do see someone who's brand new, who is trying to get their foot in the door, they have no idea where to start, and you guys feel like these videos are useful and help you get your start, feel free to go ahead and share them. This part 1 and 2 series. We have the capture and hold video also that was like a familiarization, but it's also very useful to dive into and look and see how Bohemia implemented certain components and features. So I would just ask that if you feel like, it fits the bill, go ahead and share it with people in the community so we can help everyone get this foundational knowledge, help them get their foot in the door. It's, reduce the anxiety and stress of diving into such a big project. One final thing I wanted to mention was I did come across a couple videos by someone named GavinM. He's going through the editor, a lot of editor familiarization. He went into some other tools and things that I probably wouldn't dive in for a while. So I'm going to put a link down in the description to his channel, and feel free to go over there and check it out. He's planning on doing some more videos, especially related to some terrain features, and I know a lot of people are interested in that. So go ahead down below and check out his stuff as well. All right, so let's get into the video here. We'll go ahead and get into Arma Reforger tools. And we were doing scenario tutorial. If this is the first video you're watching, highly recommend go and watch part 1 to get the foundation that we're going to use for part 2 here. All right, we're in the workbench. We're going to go into worlds and scenario tutorial world. We'll go ahead and load that up here. All right, so a couple housekeeping things I want to go over. I did find a video by Das Caption. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I'll put his name on the video here. He did show something in a video that was super useful. It's the entity select filter here on the top. So you can click this and you have select from all layers or select from active layer only or inactive layers only. So I changed this to select active layer only, which is super nice. And what this means is when you're in the world, if I'm trying to like select something like my soldiers or whatever, I'm not going to end up picking like the trees or anything in the world, because that's not the active layer anymore. My logic layer is currently, so I can't even pick my troops because this isn't my active layer. Now I do know these are the US troops, so I could easily go up here and click through and select them that way if I need to, but it's just another thing that makes it makes it a little bit easier to navigate and use the editor without accidentally clicking in different areas. Another thing I wanted to touch on, this was a problem that came up, was our faction loadout, faction manager here. So we have the faction manager for, I'll open this up a little bit, for US X USSR. And what this means is we have a manager for the US and for the USSR. Someone wanted to add the FFA, I believe they're called, and they weren't able to. And that's because this manager is pretty much telling the game, hey, you've got US, you've got USSR, I don't know about anything else. Now, if you try and just add the other faction manager, the game gets confused. Like, I don't know which one you want, because if you add the FFA, you want one, or if you add this one, you just want these two. So you can actually add a different one that makes things a little bit easier. So we'll go into the managers, and we've got FFA, we have USX, USSR, and we have faction manager editor, which actually includes all three factions. So if you do think you're going to be adding a third faction to this, I would recommend just swapping this out now. That way you don't have any issues in the future. So I'm just going to hit F on the faction manager. I see where it is here. I'm going to delete it, and we'll put the editor one in here. And that way we have access to all three. And you probably want to do the same thing for loadouts. Loadout manager, we'll delete it, and we'll put the editor in here. And one more thing I want to touch on for co-op multiplayer is when you have the new faction manager in here, you want to scroll down and make sure you have the is playable checked. Now mine's only US, so I'm only going to check that one, but it doesn't matter. You can check these other ones if you do plan to have people in these other factions. All right, so now that we got the faction manager and loadout manager set up for a potential third faction, we're going to go ahead and create a new layer, and this is going to be our Logic MP. And now we're going to go through and add all of the layers that we need for multiplayer or co-op. So the first one here is just Arma Reforger prefabs, and then radio. And we want the radio manager. We'll go back to prefabs, go into world and game. Inside of here, we want map entity. We want projectile sounds manager, SCR camera manager, time and weather manager. The time and weather manager, there's been issues where if you customize this, sometimes it'll overwrite the base game and other times it won't. It's inconsistent. I know people in the Discord are working on it. I have it on my list of something to look into. So, whether I figure it out or someone in the Discord does, I'll make an update video on how to set this up properly so that if you want to reliably set the weather in a certain way, you could do that. For now, we'll put it in here just so we have it for future reference back to this project. If you need to know everything you need, you can just open the project and see what's in here. We'll go back here to prefabs, and we will go into MP. Inside of here, we want hit reg manager, destruction manager, MP destruction manager, and scripted chat entity. And I just realized, and you guys might have made the same mistake because I didn't call it out. We didn't change our active layer, so all this stuff got put into the base logic area, and that's fine. We can simply just hit control and left click on the ones we want. Scripted chat entity, destruction manager, time and weather, projectile sounds, radio, camera manager, map entity, and hit reg manager. And we can just click and drag them into our Logic MP layer here, and we'll go ahead and hit save. Okay, so we got that all saved up here. It looks like a total of 13 Logic managers and whatnot in here. Now, we've added these all manually, and you might not want to do that every time, and that's kind of what my add-on does is you'll load in and all of these will be here already as a starting point. So if you do want to save some time, you can go ahead and download that. For now, we're pretty much set in terms of co-op multiplayer, and I'll show you here very simply. I'm going to show you how to publish. We're not going to publish because this is a nothing project, and we don't want to publish this. We want to wait until our game mode is like flushed out, and we've got all types of things going on here. So we'll go ahead and close this for the time being. We'll come into the workbench, and you would come to publish project, and then you would just fill in some things in here. You have a working directory, so you could I just leave the default one here. You'll need to set a preview image and any screenshots for your add-on. You can pick a category. For this, it would be scenarios MP. And then the version is done automatically. You can add tags. Visibility, you can do multiple here. So if you do it, the only ones I've touched here are public and test. I think if you set it as public initially, Then you can set it to private, and you can push this again and set it to private, so it's hidden. Test is a unique one. You can upload something as test, and it'll be on the workshop, but people have to go to the filter and enable the filter for test mods. So if you have like a partially done add-on and you want people to go on there and test it, or if you want people to use it, but test indicates, hey, this probably isn't functioning perfectly, so you can get some feedback. So just something to keep in mind if you are testing something, use the visibility test. Then you have your summary and description. After you get all this filled out here, you would hit bundle, and then you just hit publish, and that's it. It'll be on the workshop. So that's a pretty simple setup there. I do want to go over the workshop add-on and show you how this works. That way you guys have an idea of how simple this is. So I've already downloaded the add-on from the workshop. I would create a new project. It would just be, we'll just call it Wow YouTube. And I want to put this to my custom folder. So what you would do from here is just get the BaseLogicMP add-on. You would add it as a dependency, hit OK. And now we're in this workbench. We will click on BaseLogicMP, go to worlds, and BaseLogic world is what you want to load. And so what this does is it's loading not only the base Eden world of Everon, it is also loading this logic layer, which is going to include all your single player stuff and all the multiplayer, / co-op managers and everything right out of the box. I also do have the base mode plain. It's the plain game mode in here. Feel free to remove that or use that, depending on what your needs are. But you can see on the top left here, the logic. These are all listed in here. Everything you need is already set up. So now you're ready. Okay, I'm going to make my scenario. Cool. Create new world, subscene of current world, hit OK. All right, we're all loaded in here. We will just, click on airfield and hit F to focus this area. And you can see we have our new unnamed world. This is much like creating a new project. We're just using a new base layer. And so we'll go to File, Save World As. Inside of our Wow YouTube is where we want to save that. And you just, save it as whatever you want. Cool. And now you've got your mission set up here. So you would just start adding everything like you normally would in terms of, enemy groups. You go to groups, blue for, or, independent or op for. So here we go. We added a maneuver group, and we could just come on over here and go to prefabs, multiplayer, spawning, spawn point US. Now, things to keep in mind here. What's going to happen? Well, there are default settings that I've adjusted slightly. So you can see my faction manager, the check boxes for is playable are good. The game mode, we want to check the automatic respawn component. We have forced faction is by default on US. So keep this in mind if you want to change that or disable it. And we're good to go here. So I can just hit save. And we'll hit play. And here we are, spawned in here, and right out of the box, you can see the enemy obviously nowhere here. Enemy down, and we're good to go. All right, so the last thing we're going to do here is do some testing. We want to see if our multiplayer / co-op scenario works here. We're going to have a new client join us, and we can do this locally on our machine by using something called PeerTool. You want to go up to the top to plugins, settings, and down to the last option, PeerTool. Now it needs an executable here, so we're going to open our File Explorer, and you want to navigate to your Arma Reforger folder within your Steam library. So Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Arma Reforger. Copy Arma Reforger Steam. This is the executable. We're going to go back to Common and go into Arma Reforger Tools and go into Workbench. And in here, you'll paste and then just rename it to Game. So now that this is renamed to Game, we'll just minimize this for now and make sure you just type game.exe. And for the Peer Windows, we're just going to do 1. And the config is, we're going to leave all this as default except for the parameters. We're going to go to add the launch parameters that we added in the last video initially. Anytime we want to do Steam testing or game testing without adding it to the workshop. If you're not sure what any of this means, you can just copy it for the time being. This is add-ons dir, and then the path to where this project is. And this is in my custom workshop folder. It's the scenario tutorial. So we would just copy this path, and then we do dash add-ons, and we would do the name of this project, which is, well, we named this project Wow YouTube, I just realized, and we'll hit OK. So if you need further explanation on what's going on here, you can go to the first video. Hopefully you've watched the first video already, but towards the end of it, there's a chapter. It's like the last chapter before the outro. You can follow that part to get a better understanding of what's going on for that launch parameters. So we've got that set up. We're going to come up here to this play button, click the drop down and hit server localhost plus PeerTool. So we're all good to go here. We do need to do one more thing though. This PeerTool is a little bit finicky. You have to completely close out of the tool, Arma Reforger tools, anytime you make changes for it to update correctly. Otherwise, you're going to get an error when it tries to initialize that separate client instance. So leave it and hop back in here. We'll open our Wow YouTube and we'll go to, because we don't want to load the BaseLogic world now. We want to go to the Wow YouTube and load our actual world that we created, our scenario world, the sub scene. Okay, so we're in this sub scene. And we want to come up here and you probably have to check this again, server localhost plus PeerTool, and hit play. And now it's going to take an extra couple seconds to start up here. But what it's doing is we're going to have our editor become active as a player like we normally do. But we're also going to have a client instance window pop up. And it's going to be a separate player that we can, tab into that window and control. So this is how I've been testing any of my like co-op or multiplayer stuff. You can see me moving around here in the base world. And this, window is open here and it's, working. It's loading up. It does take a little bit to load this up. It's not a big deal. This isn't like, you're not going to be like playing the game like this, but this is for some quick testing, especially as we get into the multiplayer aspect and we want to make sure things are working correctly. So you can see there's my other guy here, and I can go on the ground here, say what's up. You see me aiming, so you see it's synchronized. And then we can just alt tab and come over to here. And now the same thing. So we'll turn to the right here and shoot. And everything's looking good. Could even, we're hitting the gun. Look at that. There we go. And so this is kind of how I did my testing, just to make sure all your managers and stuff are working correctly. We could test like the projectile sound one. Yeah, you hear that crack at the end. So you have the gunshot and the crack. The crack is the bullet going past the initial player. So there you go. And then you can just hit, escape and close this out. And then you can also hit escape in the editor to close out of this. So that is a quick run through of PeerTool. Like I said, it is a little bit finicky, so make sure your stuff is, good to go. If you're having problems, a pop-up will happen. It'll say check the console log. Most of the time it's because you forgot to close down out of the editor after making changes. So make sure you do that. It'll update. You can go back in and launch and you'll be good. So that's all I got for today. I appreciate the heck out of you guys. Thanks for watching these videos. I'm looking forward to the future of starting to implement some of the features. We'll take some features from the base game, from the capture and hold showcase, maybe some from the tutorial. We'll start implementing some of this stuff to see how it works. And eventually we'll get to, a series on scripting, and we'll also touch on various topics such as a dedicated server, which should be out this week. And it's pretty much almost done. I just need to do the actual recording part of it. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys down in the comments. Have a great day.